Before the rumor reached her phone, before the shame had a chance to burn her throat, and before the second chance she never asked for knocked on her door, Sara opened her eyes to the soft humming of a washing machine and the smell of cinnamon toast, and realized she was waking up in a single dad's guest room. Stay with me to the end, because what happened after that morning wasn't scandal, it was a slow, brave reassembly of two lives that were both a little broken and more resilient than anyone knew. Sara didn't remember the moment her heels gave up on the dance floor or when the polite laughter at the rooftop party turned too loud to think. She remembered the glow of string lights, the way everyone's voices stacked like uneven bricks, and how the word "celebrate" felt like permission to pause the weight she carried, a mother in a hospital bed, a boss who measured value in deadlines, and a loneliness that gnawed at the edges of everything. The guest room was small but tidy. A neatly folded blanket lay at the foot of the bed, a glass of water and two painkillers sat on the nightstand beside a handwritten note, "You're safe. Door on the left is the bathroom. I made breakfast. Ryan." Her stomach tightened. Who is Ryan? She sat up slowly, wincing as her head announced its disapproval. Memories flickered, someone offering her a jacket when the breeze turned cold, a voice saying, "It's okay, let's get you home." A car interior that smelled like pine, then, nothing. She found her phone on the dresser, charging. No unfamiliar messages. No missed calls. Just the slow drum of panic, then the sudden hush of her own reasoning, "You're not in danger. You are in a spare room. You can step out and ask." She opened the door to a hallway etched with crayon marks at knee height and taped up construction paper stars. The sound of a cartoon filtered through the living room. When she turned the corner, she found him. Late 30s, clean t-shirt, a face that looked like it had learned kindness from weather. Ryan stood in the kitchen, cutting toast into triangles while a little girl with a high ponytail and glitter stickers on her cheeks cheered, "Triangles are lucky." Ryan looked up and smiled. "Hi. You're awake. Coffee or tea?" Sara folded her arms without meaning to. Where am I?" "My place," he said gently. 2 blocks from the party. I'm Ryan. We've met a few times in the building elevator. You dropped your keys on the rooftop and looked a little overwhelmed. I asked if you wanted a ride. You said yes, then you needed sleep." His eyes stayed steady, clear. "You're safe. Nor insisted we make you cinnamon toast. She says it heals headaches." The little girl, Nor, thrust a sticker book toward Sara. "I put stars on your note." Sara breathed, the air catching in her chest. "Thank you. This is so embarrassing." "It's just human," Ryan said, plating the toast and sliding it onto the table. "Happens to the best of us. Sit." She sat. The toast was warm and sweet. The coffee, strong without being cruel. Nor chattered about her school play where she was a squirrel who had to remember her lines and her acorns. When Nor ran to get her costume, brown felt ears stapled to a strip of cardboard, Ryan leaned on the counter. "I know you don't owe me any explanation," he said. "But if it helps, my sister used to have this way of fading out when things got heavy. She'd forget to eat. Forget to stop. Sometimes what people need most is someone to steer for a bit and not make a big thing of it." "You're a stranger," Sara said, and then realized it wasn't true. She'd noticed him in the elevator. He always carried a lunchbox and a sketchbook. He'd once held the door for her with a grin that matched the morning. "You're not entirely a stranger." He laughed quietly. "I'm a single dad and a high school art teacher. I'm either responsible or extremely boring depending on who you ask." A pulse of gratitude warmed her face. "Thank you for not making me feel worse." He shrugged. "The world tries hard enough to do that." When the headache receded, Sara stood to leave. She insisted on calling a ride. Ryan, practical without pressuring, scribbled his number on a recipe card. In case you left anything behind, he said. Or in case Noor's play needs an audience and you happen to be free. Sara almost crumpled the card from nerves. I'm not, my week is. He put up both hands as if calming air. No expectations. Back in her apartment, the silence pressed in. The party's glitter had turned to grit. Her mother's text blinked, doctor says more tests. Don't worry. Her boss's email chimed, need those mock-ups by Monday. Her throat tightened. She looked at the card again. No expectations. That evening, a small knock at her door. She opened it to find Noor, holding a lopsided paper crown. Ryan hovered behind her, apologetic. I told her we should ask first. Noor beamed. You looked sad. Crowns help. Sara did not know she could cry and laugh at the same time. Thank you, she whispered, placing the crown on her head. It rustled like a friend's hug. Over the next week, the world did not get easier. Her mother's tests stretched into weight-heavy days. Work piled up. The rumor mill from the party started grinding. Someone had posted grainy photos of her looking unsteady on the rooftop. Comments swelled like waves, is she okay? Some people can't hold it. Mess. Sara's first instinct was to hide. But a second voice, quieter, steadier, grew with each cinnamon-scented memory, you are not a mistake for needing help. She texted Ryan, not to apologize, but to ask about Noor's play. He sent the time and place with a smiley face that didn't feel like a door opening so much as a porch light left on. The night of the play, the tiny auditorium smelled of dust and pride. Noor, in her squirrel ears, forgot one of her lines and improvised with dazzling confidence, sometimes it's okay to forget, acorns are forgiving. The audience laughed. Noor spotted Sara in the crowd, waved so vigorously she nearly lost an ear. After the show, Sara found Ryan backstage, crouched to tie Noor's shoe. She knelt to help, fingers fumbling with the bow. She was brilliant. She is, he said softly. Thank you for coming. Something shifted then, not romance, not yet. Just a kind of trust that glows when people stay. A few days later, when the rumor about Sara's wild night flared again, she made a choice. On her lunch break, hands shaking, she opened her social app and posted a simple, honest message, I had too much to drink at a party. A kind neighbor made sure I got home safe. No, I am not proud. Yes, I am okay. If you've ever needed help, I hope someone was there. Be gentle, with me, with yourself. She put her phone face down and returned to her work. When she looked hours later, most comments were quiet hearts and same and thanks. The few cruel ones looked small beside the tide of grace. That night, a message from Ryan, proud of you. Cinnamon toast still available anytime. She smiled at her ceiling, at the paper crown pinned to her wall. Maybe this was the work, choosing gentleness without asking permission. Spring leaned into summer. Sara learned how to carry her mother's worry without letting it swallow her breath. Some mornings, she joined Ryan and Noor for a walk before school. Noor collected fallen bougainvillea petals and called them petal confetti. Other mornings, Sara and Ryan coordinated schedules like chess moves, his parent-teacher conferences, her client pitches. They traded meals on tired Thursdays and celebrated small victories on the steps between their apartments, a neatly completed science project, a deadline hit, a lab result that said, stable. They set boundaries and kept them. When Ryan offered to fix a broken cabinet in Sara's kitchen, she left a thank you note and a gift card rather than assuming he'd always be available. When Sara's mother had a rough week and she cancelled on a picnic, Ryan didn't guilt her. He sent a voice note instead, we're here. Rain check. Also, Noor wants to know if your mom likes glitter cards. Trust came on quiet feet. Then the storm hit. One evening, Noor spiked a fever. Within hours she was listless, skin too hot, breath fluttery. Ryan's calm cracked at the edges. He called the pediatrician, who told them to go to urgent care. Sara heard the commotion through the hall and knocked, fully aware she might be intruding, fully unwilling to sit in her apartment with that worry humming. Ryan opened the door, eyes red, voice tight, "She's burning up." "I'll drive," Sara said, already grabbing her keys. "I'll do paperwork. You hold her." The clinic lights were brutal. Sara filled forms with shaking hands while Ryan cradled his drowsy daughter. A nurse led them to a room, a doctor examined Noor and recommended fluids and monitoring. Hours stretched. The fever wrestled itself down until Noor dozed against Ryan's chest, damp hair stuck to her forehead. Sara sat in the corner chair and finally let herself see it, the whole architecture of his love. How he stroked Noor's hair and whispered stories about brave squirrels who found their way home. How he didn't flinch from fear, he carried it, reshaped it into something a child could hold. At dawn, they got to take Noor home. Sara made tea in Ryan's kitchen while father and daughter napped tangled on the couch. She wrote another note, this one longer, "You are doing this so well, even when it feels like breaking. Call me for anything, even if it's just to sit." When Noor woke later, wobbly but smiling, Noor asked for Sara story time. Ryan looked toward the kettle, the tidy counter, the note. He met Sara's eyes and, for the first time, let some of his weight show. "Stay?" he asked. Not a demand. A simple invitation. She stayed. Through that day and others. Through Noor's recovery. Through the appointment where her mother's scans, at last, showed something like peace. Through a work crisis where a project nearly fell apart and Ryan watched Noor so Sara could fix it, then cheered when she did. They didn't rush. There was no cinematic kiss in the rain. There were school runs and grocery lists, a drip under Sara's sink they learned to catch in a bowl until a plumber could come, and a Friday ritual where they made cinnamon toast and watched old cartoons that taught big truths with small jokes. Still, hearts are not slow learners forever. One evening on the building's roof, months after the night that had started all of this, the three of them spread a blanket and watched a sky salted with stars. Noor pointed at a plane and called it a moving star with snacks. Ryan laughed, then quieted. "I think we made something good out of a messy start." "We did," Sara said. Her hands were steady. Ryan took a breath. "I'm not asking for answers now. I just want to say, I care for you. Not because you needed help that night, but because of every day after, when you chose to meet life with your shoulders open." Sara swallowed. She thought of the rumor that had once felt like a verdict. Of the kindly note on the nightstand. Of Noor's paper crown. Of her mother, now knitting in the sun. Of the weight she still carried and how it no longer had only one set of hands. "I care for you too," she said. "Enough to take our time and do this right." They agreed on the blueprint: honesty, communication, room to breathe. If they ever felt the past tugging heavy, they'd say it out loud. If the world watched, they'd keep their faces toward the small, brave rituals that built a life. Of course, the world did watch, at least their little corner of it. The same building chat that once had judged now buzzed with images of Ryan balancing a grocery bag and a glitter-splattered school project, and Sara holding Noor's hand as they crossed the street. People learned. Or maybe they remembered. That human stumble, and sometimes the door that opens after is the one that teaches us how to walk. On the anniversary of Noor's school play, they returned to the auditorium. Noor, now cast as a star, sang a song about finding light in dark places. When the applause surged, Sara felt tears slip free. They were not the hot, ashamed tears of the morning after. These were cool and clean, a river making space for itself. Back home, they framed the old paper crown and hung it in the hallway between their doors, still separate, still theirs, but close enough to touch. Under the frame, they taped a new note in Noor's careful handwriting: "Sometimes it's okay to forget. Crowns help. And the lesson they carried into every ordinary tomorrow was simple and shining: mistakes don't define you, what you build after does. Kindness is not a favor, it's a foundation. Love, when it comes, doesn't save you from yourself. It walks beside you while you do the saving. If you started this story expecting scandal, you stayed long enough to witness something quieter and braver, the gentle labor of becoming the kind of people who can hold one another's lives without squeezing. The morning after became a life after. And that life, stitched with cinnamon, paper crowns, and second chances, was the one they chose.